Welcome back guys to NRL Tippers. Recap on the last week's round, we have got 5 out of 8, which is 62.5%. It was a devastated loss over 3 teams which we expected them to win the game, but it is what it is. Proceed to this week's NRL round 23. Roosters versus Sea Eagles. The Broncos last start and will be up against a Sea Eagles outfit who got the job done in Daly Cherry Evans' 300th NRL match to make it 3 wins in their last 4 games. Both these sides only met a month ago, with the match coming down to the wire for an 18-16 victory to the Sea Eagles at 4 Pines Park. Another repeat result would all but spell the end of the Roosters' finals hopes, and the Sea Eagles would love nothing more than to be the team that piles on the pain for the Eastern Suburbs club. Team news. Roosters. Egan Butcher failed a head injury assessment against the Broncos and is unlikely to be available. Connor Watson's knee, and Paul Momirovski's shoulder, are nearing returns after long layoffs, but it's also unlikely to be via the NRL. Jake Turpin got only 5 minutes of game time last week, with Brandon Smith pumping out 75 minutes, his best efforts this season. Sea Eagles. Christian Tuipulotu suffered a suspected MCL injury against the Dragons, with coach Anthony Seibold set to ponder his options in the backline. With Ruben Garrick switching to fullback, it could see the return of Keo Weeks or Raymond Tuimalovega on the edge. Carl Lawton made a return from a calf injury via NSW Cup last week, while Ben Turbojevic, hamstring, is a chance to be available. Stat attack. The Roosters have won 6 of their past 9 games against the Sea Eagles. The Sea Eagles have not beaten the Roosters twice in a season since 2017. Daly Cherry Evans has scored 4 tries in his last 4 games against the Roosters. So, I'm going to tip Roosters to win the Game 1 of NRL Round 23. Titans versus Warriors. No easy task, but the Titans know they have the firepower to score points provided they can keep their defense in order. The Warriors are finals bound and looking every bit a genuine contender, with Sean Johnson in sublime form in the number 7 and a posse of try-scoring threats capable of breaking down even the best defensive units. A top 4 finish and a double chance beckon for Andrew Webster's men as they look to put the icing on a superb season and take momentum into September, with 5 very winnable games to come. With games against the Warriors, Sharks, Panthers, Storm and Bulldogs to come, sneaking into the finals will be no easy task, but the Titans know they have the firepower to score points provided they can keep their defense in order. The Warriors are finals bound and looking every bit a genuine contender, with Sean Johnson in sublime form in the number 7 and a posse of try-scoring threats capable of breaking down even the best defensive units. A top 4 finish and a double chance beckon for Andrew Webster's men as they look to put the icing on a superb season and take momentum into September, with 5 very winnable games to come. Team news. Titans. Jojo Fafita ankle, and AJ Brimson abdominal will be monitored early in the week. Fafita looks to be in most doubt, while Brimson was able to return to the field on Sunday after a pain-killing injection. Aaron Shoup is a chance to join the backline should Fafita be ruled out, while Jaden Campbell is the ready-made fullback replacement for Brimson. Skipper Tino Fayajua has 1 more match to serve on his suspension. Warriors. Forwards Jazz Tevaga, Cap, and Murata Niokor, head knock, are on track to return in a big boost for the Warriors. Tevaga has played just 6 games this season, the last of those in round 8, so he is likely to be eased back in off the bench. Stat attack. The Warriors have a win and a loss coming off the bye in 2023, losing to the Broncos 26-22 in round 13 after their first bye, and belting the Dragons 48-18 in round 17 after the second bye. Warriors prop Adan Fanua Blake leads the NRL for post-contact meters with 12.08 at an average of 63.5 per game. Titans winger Phil Sammy is 3rd in the NRL for tackle breaks with 100 from his 18 games. So I'm going to tip the Warriors because of the consistency, even the best performance for the past 5 games. Panthers versus Storm. The Panthers and Storm meet in the match of the round at Bluebird Stadium on Friday night, with both heavyweight clubs set to face off for another chapter that has seen plenty of rivalry in recent years. Penrith are on the cusp on an elusive and rare three-peat, with many asking the question of just who can stop them in September as the finals run begins to heat up. Melbourne will put their hand up and say they can, but their inconsistency this season has been uncharacteristic for a Craig Bellamy side, despite them well placed in the top 8 after 22 rounds. Both these sides only met a month ago at Marble Stadium, with the Panthers, minus Nathan Cleary, running down a Storm side who shot out to a 14-0 lead early. The contest provides the perfect opportunity for Bellamy's men to get into the groove of finals football, while for Ivan Cleary's side they'll have one eye on the minor premiership, with the Broncos giving them a good battle for top spot. Team news. Panthers. Isaac Tago, leg, is a chance to make a return after a minor issue has kept him out for the past 2 games. His inclusion will come at a good time, with Tyrone Peachy accepting a 2-match suspension on Monday. Storm. Nelson Asafa Solomona could make a timely return from a finger injury in a boost for the visitors. Asafa Solomona played on the edge with Eli Katoa missing due to an eye injury, but now the Storm forward is back. Nas could find himself back in the middle should he return. In even better news, Ryan Pappenheisen is edging closer to a comeback via Queensland Cup in a boost ahead of the finals. Stat attack. The Panthers have won 4 of their past 6 games against the Storm since losing the 2020 Grand Final. Storm have won 7 of their past 9 games against Penrith at Bluebet Stadium. The Panthers have not beaten Melbourne twice in a regular season since 2005. I'm tipping the Storms to win this match despite the performance this season. Cowboys vs Broncos. The last time the Broncos won the minor premiership, their coach Kevin Walters was captain and the great Darren Lockyer was causing havoc from the fullback position. With Walters now guiding the club's fortunes and Reece Walsh the new number 1 gun at Red Hill, the Broncos have given themselves a huge chance of finishing on top for the first time since 2000. They went on to win the premiership that season, so the omens are good for a Brisbane side that has won 7 of its last 8 and racked up 112 points across the past 3 weeks in disposing of the Roosters, Rabbitohs and Bulldogs. The Cowboys had been every bit as impressive during the past 6 weeks, but hit a hurdle at Cbus Super Stadium on Sunday when their much-vaunted attack failed to fire and they fell to the Titans. Just 2 competition points separate the Rabbitohs in 6th and the Eels in 11th, so every match from here on in shapes as a mini-final for sides like the Cowboys, who sit 8th on 26 points. If they can rebound against one of the genuine premiership contenders this week, they can set themselves up for a late charge at a top 4 finish, but a loss could drop them down as far as 11th on the ladder. Team news. Cowboys. Star center Val Holmes faces 3 to 4 weeks on the sidelines for a careless high tackle, so a backline reshuffle will be required, with youngster Zach Laybutt a chance for a recall. Hard-working hooker Reese Robson suffered a head knock in the closing stages of the Titans game and will be monitored. Prop Griffin Neem returns from a head knock to reclaim his spot on the bench. The potential return of edge forward Hylam Lukey from a facial fracture is a huge positive for the Cowboys, given the absence of Jeremiah Nanai's shoulder until the final rounds. Broncos. Winger Jesse Arthars returns from suspension, while back rower Brendan Piakura illness is also expected to be available. Dine Mariner will most likely make way for Arthars in the backline. Stat attack. Rival fullbacks Scott Drinkwater and Reece Walsh both sit in the top 5 for try assists in 2023. Drinkwater leads the NRL with 23 and Walsh has 18. Only Parramatta, 507, have scored more points this season than the Broncos, 504. I'm going to tip Broncos. Dolphins vs Knights. The Knights continue to surge towards the finals and will look to make it 5 wins on the bounce against a Dolphins outfit that dropped out of contention in a heartbreaker against the Bulldogs. Sitting 14th and floundering after a loss to Penrith in round 17, the Kalyn Ponga-inspired Knights have peeled off wins over the Bulldogs, West's Tigers, Storm and Raiders to close to within 1 point of the top 8. Ponga has come up with 7 try assists, 26 tackle breaks and 54 points across those 4 games to breathe new life into the Knights' season and remind everyone of his sublime talents. The Dolphins have plenty of attacking weapons of their own, but looked out of sync in Bundaberg on Sunday as handling errors and poor last tackle options cost them dearly against the Bulldogs. After starting the year so strongly and knocking off heavyweights like the Roosters, Raiders, Cowboys and Sharks along the way, Wayne Bennett's men will be desperate to avoid a late fade-out that takes the gloss off their debut season. Team news. Dolphins. Injuries to Ewan Aitken, knee, and Connolly Lemuelu, head knock, added to the Dolphins' woes in round 22 as the NRL newcomers have their depth tested. Veteran Anthony Milford's impressive came off the bench could see him promoted to the starting side. Knights. Prop Daniel Safety missed the win over Canberra with a quad injury and may be given another week to recover. No other injury concerns for the Knights, who have had a settled lineup for the past month as they have stormed up the ladder. Stat attack. Knights winger Dom Young needs one try to equal the club record for most tries in a season, which is held by Timana Tahu and Aquila U8 with 21. Knights winger Greg Marzhew leads the NRL for tackle breaks with 130. The Dolphins sat equal first on the ladder after defeating the Knights 36-20 in Newcastle in round 3. I'm going to tip Knights. Rabbitohs vs Sharks. South Sydney and the Sharks travel to Perth's Optus Stadium for a Saturday night NRL doubleheader in a matchup that will have plenty of bearing on the run to the finals. Cronulla were July's biggest sliders in the top 8 after 3 losses on the trot, now mounting pressure on coach Craig Fitzgibbon and his side to reach the playoffs after a strong start to the year. The Sharks are in all sorts on the injury front, which hasn't helped their cause in the past month, but defensively is where they've slipped up most, conceding 102 points in 3 matches. Their attack has also hit a roadblock, with the Nico Hines-led side unable to crack Penrith's defensive line in their loss to the Premier's last start. Coming up against a Rabbitohs outfit who, coincidentally, knocked their opponents out of the premiership race in 2022 seems about fitting for where the Sharks are at currently. The Rabbitohs have endured a tough representative period, but the return of Latrell Mitchell last week spells dangerous signs for any opposition, and the Bunnies, now at full strength, are ready to make a run to the finals. Team news. Rabbitohs. Prop Thomas Burgess and second rower Michael Cheekam come into the starting side with Hamsell injured and Jacob Host dropping out. Tallis Duncan is the new face on the bench. Sharks. With Will Kennedy, hamstring, sidelined, Connor Tracy moves to fullback and Ronaldo Mulitalo returns on the wing. Jesse Calhoun returns from suspension on the bench and Oregon Kaufusi goes out of the squad. Stat attack. The Rabbitohs have won 5 of their last 7 matches against the Sharks. Alex Johnston has only scored 3 tries in 10 matches against the Sharks, his worst strike rate across all opponents played. The Sharks have conceded 102 points in their last 3 matches. Cronulla and South Sydney lead the NRL with most line breaks, 118 each. The Rabbitohs have won 4 of their past 5 games against the Sharks. The Sharks return to Perth for the first time since 1997. Rabbitohs center Campbell Graham has scored 5 tries in 5 games against the Sharks. Sharks captain Wade Graham will play his 250th game for the club. Rabbitohs fullback Latrell Mitchell requires 2 tries for 100 NRL tries. I'm going to tip Rabbitohs. Eels vs Dragons. Parramatta have slipped from 7th to 11th after back-to-back losses on the road and must get back to the winner's circle at home in round 23 if they're to keep their finals hopes alive. With only 3 games against the Broncos, Roosters and Panthers to come before a bye in round 27, it's crucial Brad Arthur's men take care of business against the 16th-placed Dragons at CommBank Stadium on Sunday. After conceding 70 points in the past fortnight, the Eels will need to contain the likes of Dragons fullback Tyrell Sloan and center Zach Lomax, who produced some moments of brilliance in their narrow loss to Manly on Saturday. Meanwhile, the Dragons have shown some positive signs in recent weeks, overcoming West's Tigers in round 21 and taking the Sea Eagles to the wire at home, but it doesn't get any tougher than facing sides fighting for their finals fate. Dropping back to 16th place after their hard-fought loss to Manly, Ryan Carr's side must dig deep in their remaining 5 games if they are to avoid the joint venture's first-ever wooden spoon, with 15th their worst finish to date in 2019. Team news. Eels. Dylan Brown returns for his first game since round 13 after serving a 7-match suspension NRL breach. Brown will step back into 5/8 in place of Dejarnasi. Isaac Lumalum comes in on the wing in place of Waka Blake. In the pack, Joe Ofahangau, Ryan Matterson and Joey Lussick are all named to start, with Andrew Davey going to the bench, Brendan Hans to 18th man and Ofahiki Ogden to the reserves. Wairmu Greg and Makahesi Makatoa have been called onto the bench. Dragons. Interim coach Ryan Carr has named the same 17 that went down narrowly, but he will need a new lock unless Jack DeBeelan is successful in having his dangerous contact charge downgraded at the NRL judiciary on Tuesday night. Ben Murdoch-Masila has been named among the reserves as he closes in on a return from a knee injury, while Jack Bird is also part of the extended squad. Team stats. The Eels have won 10 of their last 13 matches between the two sides. Dragons fullback Tyrell Sloan is ranked 3rd in the competition for support plays, 118. Panthers fullback Dylan Edwards is leading this category with 175. The Eels have won 6 of their past 7 games at Combank Stadium. The Dragons have lost all 9 away games this season. Eels fullback Clint Gutherson has scored 8 tries in his past 9 games against the Dragons. Dragons fullback Tyrell Sloan has scored a try in each of his past 4 games. The Eels have conceded 140 points in their past 4 games. I'm going to tip Eels. Raiders vs. West's Tigers. The Raiders will be desperate to save face in front of their faithful when they host the West's Tigers 8 days after being stunned by the Knights at home. Ricky Stewart's men held on to 5th position after round 22, despite falling to Newcastle 28-6 to record their 2nd consecutive loss, and will need to restore some pride if they're to be taken seriously as premiership contenders this season. With Stewart assured the loss was out of character for his side, the Green Machine will need to get their discipline in check after missing 42 tackles and coming up with 16 errors, not good enough to compete with any side in the NRL. Meanwhile, the West's Tigers should take some confidence from their trip to Tamworth despite falling short to the Rabbitohs with injuries and discipline getting the better of their side. The run home doesn't get any easier for Tim Sheen's side, who face the Warriors in Hamilton after traveling to the nation's capital on Sunday. Now sitting 4 points behind the 16th-placed Dragons, the joint venture have 5 weeks to avoid bringing the wooden spoon home for a 2nd consecutive year. Team news. Raiders. Jordan Rapana has been named at fullback and Seb Chris in the centers, with Nick Kotrick returning on the wing. Adrian Trevelyan is the new man on the bench, with Tom Starling going to the reserves. Trevelyan made his lone NRL appearance against the Cowboys early last season and returns from an ACL injury. West's Tigers. Stefano Utoikamanu and Sean Bloor will both miss the game under concussion protocols. Alex Twal will start the match and Justin Matamua has been added to the bench. Jake Simpkin and Asu Kepaoa join a new-look bench. 5/8 Dane Laurie Knee has been named to play. Stat attack. West's Tigers winger David Nofaluma requires 1 try to become the first player to score 100 tries for the joint venture club. Raiders forward Elliot Whitehead has the chance to claim his 100th victory in the NRL. The Raiders have won their past 6 games against West's Tigers. West's Tigers have not won in Canberra since 2018. The Raiders have conceded 130 points in their past 4 games at home. Hooker Api Koroiso has scored a try in 3 consecutive games for West's Tigers. Raiders fullback Jordan Rapana requires 2 tries for 100 tries for the club. I'm going to tip Raiders.